Today we're looking at the way of Luke chapter 18. Now, at the end of every chapter, I like to kind of see what the main theme is of that chapter and what the way that is revealed from God and about God in this passage. And Luke 18 is the way of persistence. It's actually really beautiful how the Lord teaches that in prayer we must be persistent. And he gives the story of the widow who is dealing with an unjust and wicked judge, but she persists in her prayer and receives. Then we see all these different parables and stories and encounters with God, and yet woven through all of them is this either persistence or invitation to persist. The whole chapter ends with the story of the blind man who persists on crying out for mercy. He cries out for mercy and he's told to stop, but he persists and continues to cry out. And then we see the story of the Pharisee and the tax collector. And though he is a sinner, he insists on going to the temple. He doesn't allow his sinful nature to get in the way, but rather he leaves justified because he insisted and persisted and went to church, did not depend on himself. Then people brought little children to God, to Jesus, and the disciples stopped them. But then they persisted and brought the little children to him. See, there's always something of a block, something in the way that we have to persist through. For the Pharisee and the tax collector, the tax collector had to persist through his sin. For the little children, they had to persist through the idea that only adults are important, and size is important, and age is important. And then here we see the encounter after that of the rich young ruler, and the rich young ruler has to persist, or is invited to persist through his riches, to forsake everything. Even though he is rich, he is invited to follow. He does not persist. Then we see that the Lord is going to encounter suffering and pain and rejection, and he persists through it. And like I said earlier, the chapter ends with the man born blind and how he is invited to persist through that, even though he's told to be quiet. So the whole chapter is the way of persistence. It's the way of not giving up. It's the way of knowing what it is that you want, rather who it is that you want, and persisting in seeking him and to follow him, whatever the cost. And we live in a time and in a culture where instant gratification is the name of the game. And we saw how necessary it is to fight and to push and to strive and to insist and to persist. And really the way of persistence is the way of keeping hope. All those people who were victorious in this chapter, whether it's the tax collector or the widow or the blind man, all of them kept hope, persisted, went on when they either felt undeserving or unworthy or unable or unfit. They persisted. They just kept crying out for mercy. And those that failed in this chapter, the rich man who walked away sorrowful, gave up hope that he could be a disciple. If he just simply believed like a little child that yes, if I give up everything that I have, if I persist in following this good God, then I will be taken care of. He will provide for me. He will be my provider. He will be my treasure. And so today, I don't know what it is that you are struggling with, but we are invited to hope, to place our hope in him. We are invited to persist, to strive. As long as we have breath in our lungs, and life in our veins, we are called to hope. We are called to persist, knowing that persistence will yield the fruit of loving union with God. So today, don't give up. Just push. Take the next step. Just one more step. One more prayer. Cry out for mercy one more time. Just keep going. Have a beautiful day.